This is Darth Vader Unlimited. The episode is called simply Night. Yes, last week was called, figure this one, Day. Give yourself to the dark side. To me, this was easily the best episode of the series. It is, honestly. Now, the episode begins with Osha so far away from where she was flicked by Smiley the Sith that you can't even hear lightsabers clashing. You can't even hear the hum of lightsabers. You can't hear people screaming, decompressing by, doing great athletic moves and going, or something like that. You can't hear any of that. You can't hear lightsabers clashing with each other. You can't hear the hum, the whoa, whoa. You can't hear any of those noises. That's how far she was flicked by Smiley the Sith's force push. Now, let me lower my volume a little bit, because as you can see, I'm animated. I'm very animated. So on her way back, she sees nerfed Jedi, dead Jedi. This show's ridiculous. Now, when Master Soul, Jackie, who is Daphne Keen's character, finally figured out what her name was, Osha and Yord went on a caravan to look for Kelnaka. They had 4 other Jedi in tow, and I said immediately, those 4 are dead because they don't have a name. And they're dead because this show stinks. It's nerfing Jedi. The Guardians of Peace and Justice for an entire galaxy are being bodied by this chick with braids. And the biggest crime of all, Kelnaka, a Wookiee Jedi, was killed off camera! Killed off camera! Now, this show has highlighted Jedi combat without lightsabers. How awesome would it have been to see a Wookiee go hand to hand, or hand to paw, with a Sith? Leslie Land, because you're clearly not using your head for this series, you blew the opportunity by killing Kelnaka off camera. He had an opportunity to show how a Wookiee with force powers can fight without a lightsaber. And you know what else you blew, Leslie Land? No head. You blew the chance to see a Wookiee Jedi use a lightsaber! My servants are scrambling, wondering if I'm going to kill them next. No, let me focus on the review. So we see dead Jedi number 1. We then see Smiley the Sith in an obscured lightsaber battle because there are trees everywhere, so you don't get a good grasp of what's going on. You just see red lightsaber, green, blue, I think yellow. I think Yord's is yellow. Y for Y. Yellow for Yord. Then we see some good stuff. I'm not going to front. We see some good stuff. We see Smiley stab one Jedi, and then he uses a force pull to pull the other Jedi right into his blade. So he has 2 Jedi impaled on his lightsaber. That was pretty cool. Then Yord steps up. Yord is slashed in his leg, okay? Now remember when Obi-Wan Kenobi was slashed by Count Dooku? What did Obi-Wan do? Because of the pain of a lightsaber-inflicted wound? He laid in the same position until Count Dooku fled, fighting Yoda. So we're talking about 5 minutes straight, Obi-Wan was incapacitated. What did Yord do? He said, Osha, let's get back to the ship, and took off as if nothing was bothering him, as if nothing was wrong. Use your head, Leslie Land! Now we see Smiley the Sith. We see him battling Soul. We see him battling Jackie. Jackie had a great moment where she had 2 lightsabers. She had her own, which was green, and she confiscated Kelnaka's lightsaber from May, whom she incapacitated. They had a nice back and forth, Jackie and May. And Jackie came out on top, and she was even on top of her. She had her hands cuffed behind her back. She said, how did you get Kelnaka's lightsaber? And she attacked Smiley the Sith with both lightsabers, hers and Kelnaka's. Again, this isn't bad stuff. It's just bad concepts and just stupidity, philosophically. So then, as Smiley the Sith is battling multiple Jedi at once. He's getting hit in his helmet, he's blocking lightsabers with his arm. Let me explain what that is. Literally, this is where it began. It's called cortosis ore. It is a form of rock, hence the term ore, cortosis ore, that can be, transformed into a metal, that has properties that can short circuit a lightsaber temporarily. I do not know which novel or which literature this appeared in first, but what it does is when the lightsaber strikes the cortosis ore, it basically deflects the kyber crystal back on itself and shuts it down briefly. Okay, so as soon as he was struck and the lightsabers went down, I said, oh, they've introduced cortosis ore, which we have not seen in anything live action. This is straight out of the books. I do not have a problem with this. So the whole time Smiley the Sith is fighting, I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's too obvious that it's Chimera. It's just so obvious. I'm thinking, and then they threw out a little red herring where Osha and Yord, as they're on their way back to the ship, and remember, Yord is perfectly fine after being sliced in his hamstring with a lightsaber. She says that Smiley the Sith gets in your head. And then she said, my mother could do that. So immediately, that was sort of a red herring. It's like, okay, it's obviously Chimera, but perhaps it's either Mother Anastasia, who we saw do this to Torben before he became a master in Destiny, the flashback episode. Or it could be Mother Coral. So again, she just threw that line out, so you, the viewer, could say, it may be one of the mothers. Because I'm thinking that in the writer's room, they're probably like, I think it's kind of obvious that this is Chimera as Smiley the Sith. So they threw those lines out to kind of throw you off the scent. But Daphne Keen's character, Jackie, she knocks Smiley's helmet off, and guess who it is? Dun dun dun, Chimera. And it is very anticlimactic. His reveal is anticlimactic. Now, the way he stabbed up Jackie was kind of cool. But when she falls, he's standing there with both lightsabers pointed in different directions, and then his face is revealed. My issue with Chimera, remember, I said I like the Chimera character. My issue is once his helmet is removed, there is no menace to him whatsoever. None. He's still acting like the bumbling buffoon that was in that, I'm not gonna call it a sandwich shop, but it seemed to be an apothecary on Olega, where the local Jedi temple was, where Master Torben was taking his Barash vow. And I'm thinking, this is another blown opportunity. Why is there no menace to this man? Think about this. When Chancellor Palpatine revealed himself to Anakin Skywalker, he basically was holding up flashcards and air traffic control lights saying, I'm a Sith, but Anakin just figured it out when he said, to save your wife from certain death. There was menace from then on. He was no longer kindly Chancellor Palpatine. He was just menaced from then on out. We don't get that with Chimera. We get, hey dude, I just want a pupil, an acolyte, run credits. I just want freedom. You know what I'm saying, bro? Pass me a UAP. Give me a blunt, because it's legal in most states. But anyway, you get the idea. There's no menace to the man. And I do like the character, but I hate the direction. I hate the writing. It's stupid. And then Soul asks, what are you? Now, this is stupid for a lot of reasons. The Sith are the ancient enemies of the Jedi. You're telling me a Jedi Master of Soul's caliber has no idea what a Sith is? That's what you're telling me. Even though the Sith were allegedly extinct for millennia, he has no idea what a Sith is? Garbage! Garbage! And then Chimera delivers the most anticlimactic response. He says, a Jedi like you might call me Sith. The line is delivered with about as much menace as Pluto fetching a bone for Mickey in Disney. And it's such a wasted opportunity, a blown opportunity. Now, shenanigans ensue. Yord and Osha, they lead those cockroaches, those flying cockroaches that were like feeding on the tree marrow. Do you call that a marrow of the tree, or the innards of the tree? And then Yord agrees. He says, we can rescue Soul, we can lure the bugs back to Smiley the Sith, and they can attack him, which I thought was a pretty good plan, okay? I thought it was a good plan. So they do that. In the process, Yord has his neck snapped by Smiley the Sith, who is not using his lightsaber, which is pretty cool. Soul engages Smiley the Sith in hand-to-hand combat, and again, this was another reason why I was mad, because this is where the Wookiee would have prevailed. We would have seen Wookiee combat. Darn you, Leslie, and your ridiculousness. So Soul bests in hand-to-hand combat. So that's what makes it even more infuriating that a Wookiee was not involved. Then Soul grabs his lightsaber. He's coming to chop Chimere's head off, as he should have. And then Osha says, no! And I'm thinking, this is dumb. This is dumb. Chimere should have been beheaded. Beheaded! And then they said, either Chimere or Osha said, no. Soul himself said, Jedi don't kill unarmed enemies. He was plenty armed, you moron. He has the Force. He's not unarmed. Did you see him create like a freaking, what's that called? The earthquake that's allegedly, theoretically going to separate California from the rest of the continental United States. The big one, or whatever it's called. Did you see that force push that repelled all you guys? Like roaches off of a dog's back? He's not unarmed. He has the Force. So he's stupidly, again, I like the episode, but there was so much dumb involved. So then, Smiley the Sith gets the upper hand. Soul is knocked unconscious. Okay. Osha, she places Pip on his back, is emitting a light. The cockroaches fly Chimere away so that Soul and the rest of the crew can get to safety, because he's just bodying Jedi here. And I knew he wasn't dead. So Osha and May, they hug, they have an embrace, and I liked what May said. I don't remember what it was, but I do remember liking what she said. And then she had a tear come, and it was a good tear this time. And then Osha blows the moment and says, you're a murderer, and the Jedi are more of a family than you ever were. I'm like, then why hug this murderer? Why hug her? And if you were there to save May, why didn't you just play along and just say, let's go back to the ship and plan a way to incapacitate her, since you know you hesitated the first time on Olega? You could have lured her into a false sense of security and stunned her into unconsciousness. Anyway, May, who had her leg broken earlier, I thought, by Smiley the Sith, when he was holding the lightsaber to her head, almost like holding a gun to somebody's head. I thought he broke her leg, but she's walking around fine. She force pushes Osha off a ledge, and Osha's knocked out, okay? So then May cuts her hair to make it look exactly identical to Osha's. And she puts on Osha's clothes. She goes back to Saul. I think Saul knew that it was not Osha, because instead of saying, where's May, he said, where's your sister? So now remember, Saul is there to sort of redeem May as well. And all he wanted to do was talk to May. He didn't want to even fight May anymore. So I do not believe that Soul is confused. I think he knows this is May, even though she's dressed as Osha. Now, when Chimere finally killed all the flying cockroaches, he found the unconscious Osha, and he knew right away that it was Osha. So there was no kind of confusion, and he did say he wanted a pupil or an acolyte. So from there, you can tell that Chimere is going to try to indoctrinate his beliefs. He didn't even sound sure when he said Sith. His Sith beliefs onto Osha, because he said he wanted a pupil even though he already had one in May. Stupid stuff. And as Soul and May, who's dressed like Osha, return to the ship, that weasel Basil makes his way back to the ship sniffing around, even though you, the viewer, know that's not Osha. But just to reinforce the fact that it's not Osha, he sniffs suspiciously. Even though I do believe Soul knows that that's really May. And that's the end of the episode. Good stuff, but stupid stuff. Stupid stuff. And this is disrespectful philosophically to Star Wars, even though the action was okay. This is the best episode of the series so far. I give this a B-. Again, a lot of dumb. A lot of dumb. And we're going to keep the video short. Give yourself to the dark side. Give yourself to the dark side.